Now, as Dallas is up on Toronto 6-3, and never count Dallas in. You know, you normally say never count a team out, never count Dallas in. So never go. If you're at a Dallas game, never go, well, yeah, this one wrapped up. Get your jackets on, kids. We're going to the parking lot. Don't. Just don't. Because Dallas's goaltenders always keep things interesting. It was pointed out on my most recent video, or second most recent video, first video I did today. How about we do that? That I don't discuss the other Oilers, Kagula, and Matt Benning. And Matt Benning, I should have. I don't know why. I was a big Brian Benning fan. Brian Benning's his dad. I think Jim Benning's Brian's brother, so Jim's Matt's uncle, which is why I'm kind of surprised he didn't end up being a Canuck. It's not like we have this tremendous depth on the blue line. I know it's better now than it was in the off season, but honestly, adding Benning would have been nice for Vancouver, and I think they'll regret not adding him since you'd think he'd have an in. The fact it's his nephew. Nepotism be damned. Just do it. It's the same reason I wanted them to sign Konechny, who's related to Horvat. I thought it would have been just a natural, but whatever. It doesn't matter, I guess. But yeah, it's true. There's a lot of rookies this year in the NHL. A lot of rookies. And I have been somewhat guilty of overlooking Kagula. Now, all right, I've loaded up the NHL page for rookie scoring leaders. The first thing you notice is Toronto. Lenne is number one in rookie scoring. And yeah, I still think Matthews is probably going to win the Calder, but I wouldn't count Lenne out. If Lenne can outscore Matthews, it's at least going to split that vote. But I wouldn't count out Zach Werenski either, sixth in the rookie scoring. Matt Tkachuk has quietly put together 31 points, tied with Nylander. You know that guy Toronto's getting ready to trade. Yeah. You want to trade a guy who in his rookie season has 31 points in 46 games, and his dad Michael Nylander played for about 85 years in the NHL. And then Mitch Marner's up at the top as well. Further down, you've got Konechny with 22 points, 50 games. He's better than that. Mantha with 23 points in 35 games. I don't think this includes tonight's games. Sebastian Aho, hat trick tonight. He is not that far back to consider for Rookie of the Year. He's not. If Carolina goes on a run and Aho drags them into the playoffs, and that number 2 wildcard spot is very achievable, Aho wins Rookie of the Year and blows everybody's doors off. Provorov, Connor Brown, I've talked about Hyman, I've talked about Shea, I've talked about VC somewhat. VC's 20 points in 49 games. He's flying under the radar too. Ryan Hartman, I've talked about. Devin Shore in Dallas, 20 points in 50 games. He's a late bloomer. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be more than what we see right now. Zaitsev has been good for Toronto. 1 goal, 20 points. It's the kind of offensive production they've needed in terms of depth on that blue line, so it's looking good for them. Rantanen has 19 points. So a quiet rookie season, and again, not every rookie is going to score 75, 80, even 60 points in their rookie year, and it doesn't mean they were not going to be good. So Rantanen is still on pace to be a very good player in the NHL. Lankinen, the thing with Lankinen, the 11 goals in 41 games means that he will get the chance to prove himself because Montreal needs more high-profile scorers. So hopefully for Lankinen, he can make it. And I've always been a big fan of European players. Maybe it's my anti-Don Cherry, but I've always been a big fan of European players. Scott Wilson, quietly, another Pittsburgh Penguin, comes in and plays well. Braden Point, 15 points in 36 games. LeBanc has 14 points in 37 games. Buchnevich, nobody's talking about him because he's only played 18 games due to injury. 14 points, though. He looked good. Forbert with 14 points in 49 games and a +9, solid. Troy Stetcher, 14 points in 41 games. Don't worry about the -7. The Canucks have been brutal on the back end. Not Stetcher's fault. Vinny Hinostroza in Chicago. He's never going to be a big scorer. Very good player. Good bottom 6 guy. Austin Charnik. I've talked about Charnik. I love that kid. He'll never be a big scorer either, but I love that kid. Christian Dvorak in Arizona. Slower season, I think, than was expected. We'll see if he develops. But again, the rookie season does not tell you the whole story. Lucas Sedlak's come out of nowhere and won himself a regular job with Columbus, one of the best teams in the league. So don't sleep on this guy. Alan Quinn, or Quinny, or Quine, or Quinn, I'm pretty sure it's just Quinn, in New York, 12 points in 38 games. Again, it's not always points that tell you the story. Brock McGinn in Carolina with 12 points in 33 games. Brandon Carlo, 12 points in 53 games. His plus minus has taken a nosedive. He has kind of hit a wall. Okay, as a Boston fan, I can tell you he has kind of hit a wall, but I still love the kid, and I'd be very upset if Boston traded him. Andre Cachet has looked good for Anaheim. 12 points, 35 games. Beauvillier in New York, 12 points in 34 games. Again, these guys are your builders, your bottom six guys. Mike Matheson has 2 goals tonight, so I don't think it's included in this total. That'll bring him up to 14 points in 50 games. Florida needs that. They need that production from the blue line. Josh Morrissey with 12 points in 50 games. Solid +8 rating. Miles Wood, I mentioned him the other night. 11 points, 32 games. I like that kid a lot. Zaka, 11 points in 43 games. Not the offensive dynamo they were hoping for in his rookie season. Flashes here and there. I don't know. It's you don't call bust on a guy in his rookie year, so you just don't do it. And then Jacob Chikrin, 11 points, 39 games. Chikrin is never going to be a huge point producer. Just a solid defenseman, big kid, and pretty good shutdown guy. And then here in 40th and 41st are Kagula with 10 points in 33 games, 4 goals, 6 assists. I think when you sign a college free agent, there's always an expectation that they almost never live up to. I think back to guys like Matt Gilroy, Jake Gardner. I think it's unfair. I think what happens is these guys are more developed and they're more NHL ready. It doesn't mean the top end skill is there. Kagula is going to be a good hard-nosed third line center. You need that if you're going to win. So it's a good thing that he's there. Oh, look, it's still 6-3 with 13 minutes left. What a shocker. Matt Benning, 10 points in 38 games. Again, I really wish the Canucks had taken a run at him. I'm surprised they didn't. Good defenseman, good numbers. A +5 in Edmonton is very respectable. Behind him, Brandon Perlini in Arizona. Quiet rookie season, but 7 goals in 23 games. That's the key number, 7 goals in 23 games. Kevin Fiala in Nashville, 9 points, 32 games. Anthony DeAngelo in Arizona, 9 points in 20 games. Another one of these players picked up by Chayka, as he just stripped everything away and went with as many young guys as possible. Stephen Johns is listed as a rookie, but he's older than most rookies, so I don't think the upside is there for Johns. I think what you see is what you get. Dennis Melgan, 8 points in 39 games. He's solid in what I saw. Not a lot of offensive skill, but, Florida's not counting on him for that right now. Joseph Cramarosa, he's better than his numbers show. Cramarosa I like. Xavier Roulette, they've been waiting for a while on him in Detroit, and he is sort of living up to his advanced billing. 8 points in 35 games. I don't think he'll ever be an offensive defenseman, but again, there's offense from the blue line is not what it was years back, so I kind of remember that. Daniel Carr, Montreal fans know what they're getting with him. Shea Theodore, 8 points in 25 games. He is chomping at the bit to get into the NHL on a regular basis. That's why Fowler rumors continue. But Shea Theodore's -9 in 25 games kind of stands out. Theodore's got to work on his defensive game in the minors, clearly. Puljujarvi, he'll be fine, Edmonton. He'll be fine. Esa Lindell hasn't put up the points that was expected of him early on. He's been okay. He's an okay defenseman. He's not fantastic. Other standouts on here, Nick Lappin. I haven't really seen anything from him. Tyler Mott has been okay. 4 goals in 33 games, 7 points. Tanner Kiro, 16 games, 7 points, 4 goals. Very good numbers for Kiro in Chicago. Again, they get a guy, and he looks like he's an NHLer, and he's not getting paid the big money. So Chicago, Stan Bowman, always able to come up with these kids. Speaking of which, Pittsburgh's Jake Gunsel with 7 points in 12 games. I mentioned Jake Gunsel last night. I was talking about the hockey news looking at rookies. Gunsel is potentially a keeper. It's hard to say because in Pittsburgh, there's so many good offensive players. It can beef up your stats. You look back 10 years to Colby Armstrong and what playing with Crosby for a short period of time did for him. And for Colby Armstrong, I think it created a bit of an unrealistic expectation for the rest of his career. Nick Schmaltz in Chicago. Marcus Nudavara in Columbus has been solid. William Carrier, from what I saw, okay. Lawson Krause in Arizona has looked overwhelmed at times in games I've watched of his. I'm not sure. I think maybe Florida made the right call trading him. I'm just saying that, hoping not to gain the ire of Arizona fans, but I think so. Anton Slepyshev shows up at 61. That's right, 61 rookies. And I get down to Slepyshev, who's been very good. Slepyshev's been very good for Edmonton in limited action. He's only playing 11 minutes a game. So if he ever gets decent amount of ice time, I think he's got decent hands. He just hasn't been given a chance to show it. Ryan Sproul in Detroit, Roman Lubomov in Philly, Greg McKegg in Florida, Nikita Soshnikov in Toronto, another guy who's only playing 10 minutes a game. I think Soshnikov has offensive game, but Toronto's got a lot of young forwards, so I don't know if he'll ever get to show it. Steven Santini in Jersey. I like Santini a lot. Joel Eriksson Ek. I mentioned Joel Eriksson Ek last night as well. He had 9 games played for Minnesota, 2 goals, 5 points overall. Must be nice to send a guy with 5 points in 9 games back to his farm club. They sent him back over to Europe because reasons. He's a very good player. Nikita Tramkin with 5 points in 40 games. I don't think he'll ever be more than a 15-point-a-year defenseman, but he's a big kid. Adam Pelech in New York, Nick Jensen in Detroit, Garnet Hathaway in Calgary. 24 games, 5 points, 44 penalty minutes. That's what you're getting with Hathaway. Tyler Graovac, 4 goals in 39 games. Stefan Noesen, 4 goals in 14 games. It's New Jersey property now. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever going to develop. Brandon Tanev, 4 points in 38 games. Michael Scarbosa, 4 points in 33 games in between Anaheim and Florida. Timo Meier, 4 points in 18 games. Ryan Carpenter, 4 points in 8 games and a +5. So it's one of those guys you look at and you kind of put an asterisk next to their name and see what they do next year. Gustav Forsling, 32 games, 4 points, +4. The Canucks really should have kept Forsling. There's a theme here. Kyle Connor, 19 games, only 1 goal, not ready. Michael McCarron, 15 games, 1 goal, 4 points. I don't know if McCarron's ever going to be a regular everyday NHLer. Scott Mayfield, 4 points. Brendan Gaunce, 4 points in 45 games, no goals. Gaunce has no hands, which is why when Canuck fans talk about, oh, we should trade Gaunce for, insert name of high-profile player here, it's like, you guys are nuts. You can't add a third to Brendan Gaunce and turn it into a decent player. It's no insult to Gaunce. It's the guy has no hands. Slater Cuckoo, 4 points in 29 games. He's a tweener. He may never be quite good enough to be top 4 in the NHL and too good for the AHL. Lauren Dauphin, Kyle Rao, Frederick Gauthier, 3 points in 17 games in Toronto. We'll see if he gets his chance. He's only played .937 a game when he's played, so I'm not going to make any statements on his ability or inability based on 3 points in 17 games when he's not getting the ice time when he plays. Gemel Smith in Dallas, 3 points. Jakub Vrana, 3 points in 12 games for Washington. Brett Kulak, 3 assists in 18 games. Julius Honka, who was brutal on one of the Toronto goals tonight. Just brutal. This is his 10th game. He was a -6 coming into this game. I wouldn't be surprised if, as the game's still 6-3 with 10 minutes left, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a minus in this game. I haven't looked at the stats. I'm just going to do one more page. And again, this is just to make sure I've covered as many guys as possible, because we all get excited about rookies and who's going to make it, who's not, and who's really good. Frederick Claesson in Ottawa, 3 points in 13 games. Christian Fischer in Arizona, 2 goals in 3 games. too small of a sample size, and he only had 2 shots on net, so he scored both shots. Anton Bleed in Boston, he is an extra. Pontus Aberg in Nashville, I don't think he's ever going to be a regular. Matt Pekka in Tampa, I guess we'll see. 2 points in 9 games. Pekkas are normally Selke Trophy winners. Marek Hrivik in New York for the Rangers. He's okay. Justin Bailey. I watched a game with Bailey in it the other night. I thought he kind of stood out for me in Buffalo, but we'll see. Nikita Sherbak in Montreal, of course, had his 1 goal. He's played 3 games. Juhar Kara, or Juhar. I'm not saying that right, am I? Juhar Kara. Ugh. I'm going to make myself look it up, aren't I? Aren't I? Come out. I can hear I hear you guys. I know you're yelling at your computers. I know you're yelling at your monitor right now. I can't hear you. It's okay. I know I'm mangling it. So I'm just going to go ahead and this is one of the beautiful things about this magazine. Oh, he had already played a game coming into this season. All the prospects who haven't played an NHL game are split separate from everybody who has played a game in the NHL. So Kara had played a game coming into the season. Juhar Kara. Jujar. Jujar Kara. The way they pronounce it's Jujar Kara. Okay. He was the 3rd round pick in 2012. 2 assists in 15 games last year. Add that to his 3 goals. No, Shannon. No. 1 goal in 3 games. So, it's important he's from Surrey, of East Indian descent. And I mean, I'm not telling tales out of church here. Surrey is a very large Indo population. A lot of East Indians in Surrey. And honestly, it is a portion of the population in Canada that if they ever really get passionate about hockey, it's a fantastic addition to the league. So it would be exciting to see some of these guys come up because there's a lot. I mean, there's a large Asian population as well in Vancouver, and that would be fun to see too. I mean, look at the excitement when Korea was playing. Both Paul and Steve. Steve Korea, the tiny one that tried and did his best, couldn't quite make it for the full season. He played 3/4 of a season, I think it was, the first year, and then he played partial season the next year, and he just couldn't quite do it. So who else is in here? Zach Sanford, 20 games for Washington, 1 assist. Dylan Strome played 7 games for Arizona before being sent down. Bjorkstrand's only played 5 games for Columbus. Only played 12-16 a game. He has to play more than that. That's not enough. So yeah, so that's where we're at with rookies right now. It's weird because there are a lot of really good rookies. And I look at this rookie class this year, and I could see it being one of the top 5 of all time when it's all said and done. So 15 years down the road when people look back at it. Because there's a lot of really good players. And there's a lot of guys who are kind of lost in the shuffle here. Gravel with the Kings. Acciari with Boston is another one. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of players. So I apologize if there's times where I talk about rookies and I focus on the more romantic, big scoring or high draft picks and where they're at. And it's funny because, Edmonton has taken it on the chin for their handling of Puljujarvi, but what about Kagula? What about Benning? What about Connor McDavid, the showpiece, the centerpiece of the NHL, the showcase of the Edmonton Oilers? What about how they've handled the rest of I've always sort of looked at it this way. There are teams who have problems with developing players. Columbus was an example of that. But there are teams who are very good at development. They just sometimes draft guys who take a little longer to be ready or just don't make it. And it's just part and parcel of the risk you take when you're drafting 18-year-olds. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm a big Thrashers supporter. I'm really hoping Atlanta wins the Stanley Cup this year. Fingers crossed. Now people are going to check and see what the date is on this video. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to y'all again soon. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're just browsing through. Thanks again.